Today we're going to talk about the stages of decomposition. So after they've used the three physical methods to determine a time of death, alga mortis, rigor mortis, livor mortis, if the body's past like the 36-hour mark, the mortises don't really help us anymore. We know it's been past that point in time, but we can't really use any of those temperatures or blood clotting or stiffness after those points of time. And so now we have to take a look at the stages of decomposition of the body to estimate a time of death. And this is going to get a little bit more broad in our range. So instead of like giving hours, we're going to give kind of days, and they're going to be just general estimations. But it's still helpful if we find a body to kind of be able to say, okay, they've been dead approximately 4 days or approximately between 6 and 8 days versus just like, well, we don't really know anything, right? So there's 5 stages of decomposition. So if you have your notes out, you should have the stages, and you can put a description, and then you'll draw some pictures in a little bit. The first stage is what we call initial or fresh decay. It can also be called autolysis sometimes. And it's when the cadaver appears fresh externally. So it's going to look pretty normal on the outside, but it's starting to decompose internally due to bacteria being present before death. This is the 0 to 4 day mark. And if you're going to find a body, this is the stage you want to find it in. After this, it goes way downhill. So the body is going to pretty much look good on the outside, but it's not going to have any rigor mortis set in. The livor mortis is going to be set, and you're not going to be able to, the temperature is going to have evened out to whatever the temperature is. So this is kind of your 0 to 4 day mark where stuff's starting to happen on the inside, but it still looks pretty good on the outside. The second stage is called putrefaction or bloating, and you're going to want to write the word putrefaction in your notes because that's how it'll be described most of the time. This is the 4 to 10 day mark. The 4 to 10 day mark, the cadaver is usually swollen by gas produced internally, and it has an odor of decaying flesh. So the cadaver, if you find a body between the 4 and the 10 day mark, it's going to be severely bloated. Okay, it's going to look swollen and puffy because all that bacteria on the inside is starting to break everything down, and it's creating a bunch of gas, and it'll smell. It'll be like you walk into the room and you'll be like, oh, something is not right in here, and it smells bad, right? That's the 4 to 10 day mark. And so that's pretty quick. 4 to 10 days, the body's already starting to get swollen, and it will have a distinct smell of decaying flesh. The third stage, personally, I think this is the worst stage. It's called black putrefaction. The flesh is like a creamy consistency, which I know is really gross, but it's kind of like if you were to touch it, it would just kind of slough off into your hands. Think like a kind of like a mac and cheese consistency, which I know, I'm sorry, is bad to explain it. With exposed body parts being black, so the decomposition is happening, it's kind of turning the outside of the body like a blackish color. The body starts to collapse as gases escape, and so like some of the parts of the body will still be bloated, other parts will have sunk in because it'll kind of loosen up and the gas will be let out. The odor from this is like uber crazy strong, right? This is like when somebody says, we're getting a weird smell from the apartment next door. Like you're in your own apartment and the apartment next door is starting to smell, or you walk by a house and you can smell an odor. Like that's the stage you're in. It's very strong. And the fluids start to drain from the body. This is like the 10 to 20 day mark. So if a body's just been sitting there for between 10 and 20 days, it's going to be in black putrefaction mode. This is the stage I would say that you don't want to find a body in ever if you're lucky. And moving a body in this stage is really yucky. A lot of times when they have to move a body in black putrefaction, it'll slosh around, it'll lose fluids, it's very unpleasant. Okay, so that's the black putrefaction, and you can look down here at the bottom of these pictures. right here, this is a body in black putrefaction. You can see it's starting to be discolored. It still has a little bit of bloat to it, and this is a body in black putrefaction. Do you see all the liquid that's coming off of it and different things like that? It's very unpleasant. The fourth stage is your 20 to 50 day mark, okay? It's called Butyric Fermentation. And this is where the cadaver's starting to dry out. So it's still gonna have some flesh remaining at first. It has a very distinct cheese odor. It's because the body releases butyric acid at this point. As it's getting rid of all the excess flesh and different things like that, butyric acid is one of the last things that gets released from the body. And butyric acid smells like cheese. So it literally will have like a cheesy smell to it, and then it won't be bloated anymore, and it'll still have some flesh, but it'll be starting to kind of to dry out. It's still a weird stage to find a body in, but better probably than the putrefaction or black putrefaction. And this is your 20 to 50 day mark. The body that's down here in the right hand corner is a little bit past butyric fermentation. It still has this one is pretty much dry decay. The butyric fermentation is going to be kind of that tweener between kind of looking like skeleton remains but still looking like a body. It's kind of that in-between stage. And then the last stage is dry decay or degenesis. The cadaver's almost completely dried out. It's a very slow rate at this point. And it usually is going to look more like skeletal remains. It'll still have kind of a body feel to it. This is a picture of somebody in dry decay. This is anywhere between the 50-day mark usually, and then obviously 365 days. So pretty much any time after that. This is the stage where if the environmental conditions are right, the body can mummify as well. So it's a possibility that the body can mummify in that stage. But the conditions have to be right for that, right? It has to be like underground and certain pressures and different things like that. So bodies don't just naturally mummify like regularly. But the dry decay process, besides in the initial decay, the dry decay is probably your second best option for finding a body, because it's going to look more like skeletal remains than it is going to look like anything else. Usually the smell and the stench and the bugs and all that stuff have been gone by that point in time. So those are the 5 stages of decomp. So what I would like you guys to do is, after you've got them all written down and you've got the descriptions, you can either go online and you can find pictures of each one of the stages and print them out and put them on there, or you can draw your own examples of bodies in each one of the stages. I will tell you as a heads up, if you're going to find your own pictures, be prepared that they're going to be yucky looking, okay? So if you're not somebody who handles dead bodies or decomposing bodies or anything like that very well, then you may just want to draw your own. Because if you look up black putrefaction, you're going to get some nasty pictures that pop up, okay? So add those to your notes. Make sure you know the stages and in what order that they happen.